Welcome to this edition of Trading Bits and Bytes. I'm Susan Littlefield. Lots of interesting things that talk about some maybe having you recheck that bucket list when it comes to the old crop. Jeff Peterson is joining us today from Heartland Farm Partners. Let's talk first the WASDE report. Here we go for another one.
Boy, exactly. You want to start off hitting hard, didn't you, Susan? And what's going to be interesting next week, there's a couple things we're looking for. Yield, of course, is going to be the big one. Over on the acre side, there could be a little bit of change on the acre, but it won't be much. If it is an adjustment, it'll come on the harvested acres and probably will come on the corn side and not so much on the beans yet. There could be some adjustments on beans down the road, but over on the yield side, you know, we're looking for a lower yield. And the interesting part, though, is as we start seeing some of these estimates come out in regard to the trade, seems like some of those estimates are actually coming up a little bit. And we don't quite understand why. We don't know if it's because of what they're actually seeing out there in the field or not, but we actually think the yield will come down some from where USDA is at. But I think the big thing we want to focus on is actually how this particular yield estimate is going to be different than what we saw in last month's report. And so let's dig into that a little bit, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
And really the big difference we have is that, let's go back to last month, go back to the August numbers, and that was based off a lot of producer surveys and also satellite imagery. Now they're going to add in the objective yield data, and we think that's really important because we don't know the exact number yet, but what we do know is last year between corn, soybeans, wheat, and cotton, there was actually 4,544 in-field samples. And that's actually plots that are out there in the field, not just individual ears or pods that they're looking at. And so as actually their enumerators from NASS go out in the field, you know, they're going to go ahead and measure out those plots out in those fields. And those will be the same plots they'll come back to until they actually go ahead and get that field harvested. So what's important about, I think, the numbers this particular report is that they're going to jump in there, they're going to lay out their field, they're going to get their stand counts. So we'll get a chance to see what the stand counts. Then they're going to dig in and look at the ears themselves, and depending on how far along the ears are, they'll make the decision whether to go ahead and say, you know what, for this field we're just going to have to use an average ear weight, or they're going to be able to say, you know what, it's far enough along that we can take some measurements and we can get a length and rows around and we can get that. Now what we know is that if they get into some fields where everything's far enough along, it's actually the black layer, then they'll actually take that ear back to the lab and they'll physically go ahead and weigh it up. And the interesting part is that they'll continue this process all the way through, actually get us through October, through the November, and report, and so they'll keep going back to these same fields. And to think about the level of detail, Susan, actually what they'll do is once these fields are combined, they'll actually come back and see what the harvest loss was from the farmer's side. So there'll be a lot of detail given in this report that we didn't get a chance to see last month.
So which has more pressure? The September report or the October WASDE report?
Well, I think actually that's a great question. We're going to know more here in the September, but I think the big thing that we really have to think about is the October will actually give us more. The reason I say that is that I think one could say in some of these areas the September report this year is going to be like the August last year, just because of the amount of progress that we've had and has been made on this crop in regard to the maturity side.
So guys may have some old crop that they haven't sold yet. It's sitting there in the bin. What do we do this time of year? What should we be doing to check off our bucket list?
Yeah, I think the big thing is that in areas if for some reason you can hold on to that corn, I'd recommend keeping it actually in the bin. But there's going to be very, very few people that can do that. I think we'll see better prices down the road. For most people, what they're going to have to do is they are going to have to move those bushels. And as a result of that, I think they should look for, there's some good basis levels out there. They can go ahead and move those bushels, put them on a basis contract. What I like about the basis contract is they can get an advance, so it gives them some funds. And it also still gives them the ability to keep that futures price open to be able to set the price down the road.
Where are we sitting at for basis opportunities?
There's going to be some opportunities. If you've got some quick ship bushels of either old crop here, especially going in some processors, you can step out there. There'll be some good opportunities. Also, as we come into this harvest time, there'll be some opportunities if you've got corn ahead of your neighbors, so keep an eye out for those.
And of course, we can't hang a hat on China and the discussions continuing to bring any sort of profitability at this point for us.
I really don't think so. I mean, it gets talked about, but I think it gets talked enough about from their side just to really keep us at bay a little bit, because here's what I kind of think happens. If we don't see enough progress coming along quick enough, I think we'll see Trump go ahead and ramp up the level of the tariffs. And I don't think China, definitely they don't want that. but I think so they're just kind of agreeing that we should talk just to go ahead and drag us along.
All right, well, the best excitement will be when those combines start rolling and we start seeing some social media chatter.
That'll be exactly right.
All right, of course, you can, why don't you tell folks how they can follow you on Twitter?
Go ahead and follow me at Jeff Peterson 01. I think is the best place we'll be putting out as we see updates on yields. It's a great place to catch more information.
All right, thanks so much. Jeff Peterson joining us today, and that's been this week's edition of Trading Bits and Bytes.